What if everything you thought you knew about Janelle Brown's life on Coyote Pass was a carefully constructed lie? We all saw her embrace RV life, a symbol of her independence and her adventurous, resilient spirit. It was her home, her sanctuary, her defiant statement of self-reliance in the face of a crumbling family. But what if that very symbol of freedom was actually a cage, a meticulously crafted financial trap, hidden in plain sight? We have uncovered a shocking deception buried deep within state records, a story told not on TLC's cameras, but in the cold, hard text of legal documents that could unravel everything. The story of Janelle's RV is not about a woman choosing a new lifestyle. It's a story of alleged financial abuse, insidious manipulation, and a battle for control she may not have even known she was fighting. The question is not just where is the title to her RV. The real earth-shattering question is, does she even own it? Stay with us as we peel back the layers of this incredible story. You are not going to want to miss a single detail. Before we dive into the evidence, do me a quick favor and hit that powerful little like button. It tells YouTube you want more deep dives just like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to COCO Gossip and ring that notification bell. You need to be the first to know when we drop these exclusive reports. Your support is what allows us to keep digging, to keep bringing you the stories that others are too afraid to touch. Now, let's get into the mystery. The story begins with a simple, almost mundane problem. Our insider sources, close to the Brown family, have indicated that Janelle, in her ongoing and admirable quest to fully separate her life from Kody and the remnants of the patriarchy, has decided to sell her fifth-wheel RV. This isn't just about offloading a vehicle. It's a profound symbolic act. This was the RV that carried her through the darkest days on Coyote Pass. It was her fortress of solitude during the COVID conflicts, the one piece of property that felt truly hers when the dream of 4 homes on one plot of land dissolved into a bitter, muddy reality. Selling this RV is about closing a chapter. It's about liquidating an asset to fuel her future, a future of her own making, away from the tangled financial web of the Brown family. It's a move toward complete and total independence. She found a buyer, negotiated a fair price, a reported $65,000, a decent return even after the depreciation of a few years of rough, off-the-grid living. The deal was set. All she needed to do was sign over the title. A simple piece of paper, the legal document that proves ownership and allows the transfer of property. And that's where our story takes its first dark turn. She couldn't find it. Now, on the surface, this is a relatable dilemma. Who among us hasn't misplaced an important document? A birth certificate, a car title, a passport, it happens. In the chaos of moving, especially moving in and out of an RV, things get lost. Our initial report suggested this was the case, a simple, frustrating, but ultimately solvable problem. Janelle, we were told, searched everywhere, through every drawer in her new apartment, every storage bin she'd packed away. She scoured the glove compartment, the maintenance closets, every possible nook and cranny of that fifth wheel. Nothing. The title was gone, vanished. But in the context of the Brown family, we here at COCO Gossip have learned that nothing is ever truly simple. A missing document isn't just a case of misplacement, it's a potential clue. A red flag, because when you're dealing with Kody Brown, control is always the name of the game, and the primary tool of that control has always been finances. Think about the family's history. For decades, they operated under a system of pooled finances, the family pot. On the show, it was presented as a beautiful communal ideal. All money went into one account and was distributed as needed. But as the years went on, the cracks in that facade began to show. Christine struggled to get funding for Isabel's surgery. Mary's income from her bed and breakfast became a point of contention. And Janelle, the famously pragmatic and financially minded one, was constantly the person trying to make the numbers make sense, often at her own expense. This system, which was supposed to be about unity, became a tool of control. The person who holds the purse strings holds the power. And as the family dynamic shifted, it became increasingly clear that Kody, and by extension his legal and favorite wife, Robyn, held those strings tighter than ever. They were the gatekeepers of the family's wealth, the ultimate arbiters of who got what. So when a document as crucial as a title to an $80,000 asset goes missing from the possession of a wife who is actively trying to leave the fold, our journalistic instincts screamed that there was more to the story. It felt too convenient, too strategic. This wasn't just about a lost piece of paper, this was about power. And we knew we had to start digging into the one place where the truth can't be hidden behind emotional interviews or carefully edited scenes, public records. Our investigative team started with a simple premise. If Janelle couldn't find the physical title, the next best thing is to get a duplicate from the state's Department of Motor Vehicles. To do that, you need to prove you're the owner. So, the first logical step was to conduct an official title search. All you need is the vehicle identification number, the VIN, which is printed on multiple locations on the vehicle itself. Getting the VIN was our first challenge, but a source familiar with the RV's purchase was able to provide it to our team. With the VIN in hand, we accessed the public portal for the Arizona Motor Vehicle Division. We want to be transparent with you about our process. This is the kind of search anyone can do if they have the right information and are willing to pay the fee. This isn't secret, hidden information. It's public record, available to anyone who knows where to look. We entered the VN, paid the state fee, and submitted the request. We expected the result to be straightforward. We believed the document would come back with the legal owner listed as Janelle Brown. At worst, we thought perhaps it would be listed jointly, Kody Brown and Janelle Brown. That in itself would be a complication for her, requiring Kody's signature to sell, a classic control maneuver we've seen him use before. But at least it would acknowledge her stake, her ownership. We were not prepared for what we found. After a few minutes, the search was processed and the digital document appeared on our screen. It was an official title and registration history report from the state of Arizona. It listed the vehicle's make, a 2021 Keystone Sprinter. It listed the model and the correct VIN, confirming we were looking at the right vehicle, Janelle's RV. And then we scrolled down to the section that reads Owner Information. I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Her name wasn't there. The legal owner of the fifth wheel RV, the one Janelle Brown had been living in, paying for, and maintaining for years, was not listed as Janelle Brown. It wasn't listed as Kody Brown. It was listed under the name of a corporate entity. The legal owner was, and I'm quoting directly from the state document, K&R Holdings, LLC. K&R Holdings, LLC. Our first reaction was confusion. Who or what is K&R Holdings? Was this some kind of dealership arrangement, a mistake at the DMV? We immediately launched into a second phase of our investigation, this time into corporate records. We ran a search for K&R Holdings, LLC, in the Arizona Corporation Commission's database, and that is when the floor fell out. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place, and the picture they formed was more sinister than we could have imagined. The search results came back instantly. K&R Holdings, LLC, is a registered domestic limited liability company in the state of Arizona. Its registered agent, the person legally responsible for the company, Kody Brown. The principal members, the owners of the LLC, Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. The name, in hindsight, was a dead giveaway. K for Kody, R for Robyn. K&R Holdings. Let this sink in. Janelle's RV, her home, her symbol of independence, is legally owned not by her, but by a secret company controlled exclusively by Kody and Robyn. She has zero legal ownership. According to the state of Arizona, that RV belongs to them. This discovery was a bombshell. It reframed everything we thought we knew about Janelle's situation. Every scene we watched of her struggling to level the RV, to hook up the water, to survive the lonely winter on that barren patch of land, was tainted by this new, horrifying knowledge. She wasn't just roughing it, she was acting as an unpaid property manager for an asset owned by the very people from whom she was trying to escape. But the DMV title record was only the first piece of the puzzle. It told us who owned the RV, but it didn't tell us how. How did this happen? How could an intelligent, financially savvy woman like Janelle end up in a situation where she's pouring her money and her life into an asset that isn't hers? To answer that, we had to dig even deeper. We had to find the money trail. We had to find the original loan documents. The fine print. Finding financing agreements is much harder than looking up public records. These are private contracts between a borrower and a lender. But our team has developed a network of sources over the years, and a confidential tip pointed us in the right direction: the financial institution that held the lien on the RV. Through a source who must remain anonymous to protect their livelihood, we were able to view key sections of the original financing agreement for the purchase of that Keystone Sprinter. What we saw confirmed our worst fears. It laid bare the anatomy of the deception. The original purchase price for the RV was just over $82,000, a significant amount. The loan document, dated in early 2021, listed the borrower, the party legally responsible for the debt. And the borrower was, once again, K&R Holdings, LLC. The signatory on the loan, the individual who personally guaranteed this corporate debt, was Kody Brown. And Janelle's name? It was nowhere. Not as a co-borrower, not as a co-signer, not even as an authorized user. Her name does not appear anywhere on the legal financing or ownership documents for the vehicle she called home. This is the critical point. Janelle may have been the one making the monthly payments, either directly to the finance company or by transferring the money to Kody and Robyn, but legally, she was just a tenant, or worse, nothing. She was a third party voluntarily covering the debt on an asset owned by someone else's company. She was paying off Kody and Robyn's loan for them. She was building their equity, not her own. To understand the sheer gravity of the situation, we consulted with a consumer finance expert, Dr. Ellen Vance, who has over 20 years of experience specializing in asset protection and cases of financial abuse. We showed her our findings, the DMV record, and the details from the loan agreement. We can't play you the audio of our conversation for confidentiality reasons, but Dr. Vance gave us permission to quote her analysis. She called the situation, and I quote, a textbook case of financial entrapment. She explained it to us like this: the person whose name is on the title is the legal owner, period. The person or entity whose name is on the loan is legally responsible for the debt. In this scenario, the woman, Janelle, has absolutely zero legal claim to the vehicle. She could have made every single payment on time for years. She could have paid for insurance for all the upkeep for thousands of dollars in repairs and upgrades. Legally, those payments are considered gifts. They do not create ownership. Dr. Vance continued, and this is the part that should send a chill down your spine. The legal owner, this LLC, can do whatever it wants with that asset. They can show up tomorrow with a key and drive the RV away, and it would be perfectly legal. They can sell the vehicle to another person, collect all the proceeds from the sale, and Janelle would have no legal right to a single penny. She has been investing in an asset that belongs entirely to Kody and Robyn. From a legal standpoint, she has been flushing her money directly into their pockets. This is the insidious nature of the trap. Kody and Robyn, through their private LLC, hold all the cards. They own the asset, and Janelle has been paying for it. If she leaves, if she angers them, they could, with a single phone call to a repossession company, seize the RV. They could sell it and keep the profits, and she would be left with absolutely nothing to show for the tens of thousands of dollars she has poured into it. It is the ultimate form of control. It's a financial leash designed to keep her tethered to them, whether she realizes it or not. And this brings us to the most painful part of this entire discovery, the deception. The on-screen discussions, the family conversations that we all watched on TLC, now feel like scenes from a horror movie. We went back into the show's archives, and what we found in light of these documents is sickening. Kody said, Minky, Janelle and her RV, she wants this independence. If she thinks she can handle living in her trailer on the land, then, that's up to her. Kody, is your RV ready for winter? I don't want to have to come out here and deal with frozen pipes on your rig. Your RV. Her trailer. Her rig. Over and over again, he uses possessive language. He verbally assigns her ownership, reinforcing the idea in her mind and in the minds of the millions of viewers that this RV belongs to Janelle. It was a calculated verbal deception, now proven to be utterly false by the legal documents we have uncovered. Was Janelle aware of this arrangement from the beginning? It's hard to say. Our sources indicate she was not. The theory from those close to the situation is that the purchase was made during the chaotic period of the move to Coyote Pass. It's possible that Kody presented it as a simple family business transaction. He may have said something like, we'll run it through the LLC for tax purposes, it's just a formality. This is a common tactic used in situations of financial control. The abuser creates a confusing, opaque financial structure, often under the guise of being smart with money or for tax benefits. They use jargon and complex arrangements to make the victim feel like they don't understand the details and should just trust the person in charge. They exploit trust in a plural family that for decades preached a mantra of all for one and one for all. It is tragically plausible that Janelle would have trusted Kody to handle the paperwork in the family's best interest, never suspecting it was structured to benefit only him and his favored wife. The very existence of K&R Holdings, LLC, is a major red flag. Why was a separate LLC, owned only by Kody and Robyn, necessary for a family that supposedly shared everything? Why wasn't this asset purchased under the name of their broader family production company, Dabsark Entertainment, which includes all the parents as members? The creation of K&R Holdings appears to be a strategic move by Kody and Robyn to build their own private financial kingdom, separate from the larger family. They are creating a legal firewall, allowing them to accumulate assets that the other wives and their children have no claim to. Janelle's RV is just one example, a high-value pawn in a much larger and much more disturbing financial game. We are left with a series of chilling questions. What else is owned by this LLC? Are there other bank accounts, other vehicles, other properties that the rest of the family knows nothing about? This RV wasn't a home, it was a holding pen, a way to give Janelle the illusion of autonomy while ensuring she was still financially chained to the whims of Kody and Robyn. Her attempt to sell the RV to finally break that chain has inadvertently exposed the entire manipulative scheme. The simple act of looking for a piece of paper has ripped the curtain back, and what lies behind it is a dark and calculated story of asset control. This is the first shocking chapter of a much larger story, and the implications are just beginning to unfold. We've just laid out the shocking documented evidence, the DMV title search, the original loan agreement. The facts are cold, hard, and undeniable. Janelle Brown, for all intents and purposes, was a guest in her own home, a home she was paying for. But the how and the who are only the beginning of this story. To truly understand the depths of this betrayal, we have to explore the most critical question of all. Why? Why would Kody and Robyn construct such a deliberately one-sided manipulative arrangement? Was this a moment of careless paperwork, a simple mistake in a complicated financial landscape? Or was it, as the evidence suggests, a premeditated act of financial warfare? A strategic move in a long, cold war for the family's resources. To answer that, we must look at the history. We must examine the pattern. This RV incident did not happen in a vacuum. It is the culmination of years, even decades, of a specific and repeating pattern of behavior within the Brown family's financial structure. It's a pattern of obfuscation, inequality, and the weaponization of money, and it has been hiding in plain sight on our television screens for 12 long years. Let's rewind. We must first revisit the foundational myth of the Brown family finances, the family pot. For years, Kody and the wives presented a united front. They all worked, their income was pooled into a single account, and from that account, all the family's needs were met. It was the cornerstone of their all-for-one, plural family narrative. Janelle, with her head for numbers, was often the one managing the budgets. Christine was the primary homemaker for the collective dozen children. Mary contributed her earnings, and later Robyn joined the fold. On the surface, it sounded fair, even noble. But a communal pot is only as fair as the people who control it. As the family dynamic began to buckle under the weight of Kody's shifting affections, that communal pot started to look less like a shared resource and more like a slush fund, one that was increasingly being funneled in a single direction. Think back to the move from Las Vegas to Flagstaff. This was the moment the financial fractures became gaping wounds. They had 4 beautiful homes in a secure cul-de-sac in Vegas. The wives and children were settled. But driven by what Kody described as a calling, a dream, he uprooted the entire family to Flagstaff, Arizona, with a vague and ultimately disastrous plan to build one large home, or several homes, on a plot of land called Coyote Pass. The financial fallout was catastrophic. The Vegas homes did not sell quickly. Suddenly, the family was saddled with 4 mortgages in Vegas, while also paying for 2, then 3, then 4 separate rental properties in one of the most expensive cities in Arizona. And on top of that, they had the massive loan for the Coyote Pass land itself. The financial pressure was immense, and it was Janelle who was constantly on camera, her face etched with worry, trying to make the numbers work. Now let's analyze the decisions made during this period. Who benefited and who paid the price? Christine was miserable in her rental. Janelle was in a small, cramped house she disliked. Mary was isolated in another rental miles away. But Robyn, who famously had a list of demands for any new home, ended up in $1 million house that she and Kody purchased, not rented. The justification we were given on the show was that Robyn couldn't find a suitable rental that would accept her and her tender-aged children, a phrase that has become infamous among viewers. So, the family, already hemorrhaging money, had to stretch its finances to purchase a massive 7-figure property for Kody and Robyn. They argued it was a good investment, but at whose expense? While the other wives were in temporary situations, paying rent that built no equity, Kody and Robyn were living in a home they owned, an asset that was appreciating in value. Do you see the pattern emerging? It's a pattern of prioritizing the needs and wants of one wife and her children over the others, using shared family funds to secure assets that primarily benefit Kody and Robyn. The purchase of that home was a major power move. It physically and financially separated them from the rest of the family, but the pattern goes deeper. Let's talk about Isabel's surgery. This was one of the most heartbreaking storylines in the show's history. Christine's daughter, Isabel, was in excruciating pain from scoliosis and desperately needed surgery. The procedure required them to travel out of state during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Kody infamously refused to go, a decision that shattered Christine's and Isabel's hearts. His excuse was his strict pandemic protocols. But let's peel back the emotional layer and look at the financial one. Christine had to fundraise to help cover the costs of the surgery. She was selling her LuLaRoe clothing online, appealing to her followers for help to meet the staggering insurance deductible, which was reportedly as high as $50,000. Think about that. In a family that supposedly has a communal pot, a wife is forced to turn to her own side hustle and the generosity of strangers to pay for her child's essential life-altering surgery. Where was the family pot then? Where was the money from the LLCs? We now know Kody and Robyn had the financial infrastructure, through K&R Holdings, to purchase an $80,000 recreational vehicle. But when it came to Isabel's spine, Christine was largely on her own. This wasn't just about COVID protocols. It was a glaring example of financial abandonment. It was a message: if you are not in my inner circle, you and your children are on your own. This brings us to Mary and her bed and breakfast. Mary had a dream to buy her ancestral family home in Utah and turn it into a B&B. It was a beautiful personal project that would give her purpose and an independent stream of income. She went to Kody and Robyn for financial help from the family. They flatly refused her. They belittled the idea, questioned its viability, and ultimately turned their backs on her. So what did Mary do? She did it herself. She scraped together the money, she got a loan, she launched Lizzie's Heritage Inn, and she turned it into a massive success. It is, by all accounts, a thriving business. And what was Kody's reaction to her success? Did he celebrate her business acumen? Did he praise her independence? No, he was resentful. He saw her success, her money, as something separate from the family, something he couldn't control. Contrast this with how they treat Robyn's business venture, My Sister Wife's Closet. That business, which has been largely dormant for years, was funded by the family. It was presented as a family project, yet it was overwhelmingly Robyn's passion project. The family invested tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into it with little to no return. Yet it was never subjected to the same skepticism or financial scrutiny as Mary's B&B. One wife's dream is dismissed and denied funding. The other is funded lavishly from the family pot. One wife is forced to go it alone. The other is supported without question. It's the same pattern over and over again. Resources are allocated based on loyalty and favoritism, not on need or fairness. And that brings us back to Janelle and the RV. Janelle, like Mary and Christine, was seeking a measure of independence. She was tired of the rental situation, tired of the endless promises about building on Coyote Pass. So she took what she thought was a bold step. She bought the RV. It was a pragmatic solution from the family's most pragmatic wife. It would allow her to live on the land, to stop pouring money down the drain on rent, and to have an asset that was hers. But she made one fatal error. She trusted Kody. She trusted that when he said he would handle the paperwork, he would do so in a way that was fair and protected her. Instead, he used her desire for independence as the perfect opportunity to execute his most brazen act of financial control yet. He didn't just deny her funding like he did with Mary. He didn't just abandon her financially like he did with Christine. He did something far more insidious. He allowed her to think she was buying an asset. He encouraged her to pour her own money into it, all while knowing that, on paper, he and Robyn held the title. He let her build her own cage and pay for the bars. This wasn't a mistake. This was a strategy. This was the culmination of a pattern of financial abuse that has been escalating for years. The RV is the smoking gun. It's the physical, documented proof of the secret financial empire Kody and Robyn have been building for themselves, an empire funded by the labor and earnings of the other wives. Now, it is impossible to discuss this financial web without focusing on the person at the center of it with Kody, Robyn Brown. For years, a significant portion of the show's audience has viewed Robyn with suspicion. She has been labeled a homewrecker, a manipulator, the favorite wife who systematically dismantled a functioning plural family. These have largely been interpretations based on her on-screen behavior, the tears, the claims of victimhood, her uncanny ability to have her needs met while others went without. But our investigation into K&R Holdings, LLC, moves this conversation from the realm of emotional interpretation into the world of cold, hard facts. Her name is on the company. She is a principal member, a co-owner. This isn't just Kody's scheme. This is their scheme. Robyn is not a passive bystander. She is an active participant, a co-conspirator in the financial strangulation of her sister's wives. Let's be very clear. As a co-owner of K&R Holdings, Robyn would have been fully aware of its assets. She would have known that the LLC purchased and held the title to Janelle's RV. She would have known that the loan was in the LLC's name, and she would have known that Janelle was the one making payments on an asset that legally belonged to her and her husband. And yet, we see her on camera interacting with Janelle, talking about the RV as if it were truly Janelle's. She offered no words of caution. She made no attempt to clarify the ownership situation. She watched as Janelle poured her life and her money into that fifth wheel, all the while knowing the legal truth. This is not the behavior of a loving sister-wife. This is the behavior of a ruthless business partner, securing her own financial future at the expense of everyone else. Our insider sources paint a picture that is even more damning. According to one individual with close knowledge of the family's internal dynamics, Robyn has been the driving force behind the financial separation. She was the one who was most uncomfortable with the concept of the communal family pot, as she came into the family with significant debt from her previous marriage. The source alleges that Robyn consistently pushed Kody to create separate financial structures that would protect her and her children, insulating them from the financial needs and drama of the other wives and their children. K&R Holdings, LLC is the ultimate expression of that desire. It is her financial lifeboat. While the Titanic of the Brown family was sinking, taking Mary, Janelle, and Christine down with it, Robyn and Kody were quietly building their own private ark, loading it with assets paid for by the very people they were leaving behind to drown. Consider the hypocrisy. This is a woman who, upon entering the family, spoke endlessly about her love for plural marriage and her desire for sisterhood. This is a woman who cried on camera about the family being torn apart. Yet behind the scenes, the documents show she was actively participating in a business structure that treated her sister wives not as family, but as disposable assets, as sources of income to be exploited for her and Kody's personal gain. The tears now appear in a different light. Were they tears of sadness for a broken family, or were they tears of a performer, a master manipulator designed to distract from the calculated predatory financial maneuvers happening behind the curtain? The documents suggest the latter. Robyn Sullivan Brown is not just the favorite wife. She is the CFO of Kody's patriarchal corporation, and business, it appears, has been very, very good. So how did this all come to light for Janelle? We know the catalyst was her decision to sell the RV. But what happened between her realizing the title was missing and the horrifying discovery of the truth? Our sources have given us an exclusive behind-the-scenes account of the events that led to the confrontation, and it is every bit as dramatic as you would imagine. According to our insider, Janelle's initial search for the title was frantic but hopeful. She called Kody, who was reportedly dismissive. "I don't know where it is, Janelle. You're the one who was living in it. You probably lost it," is what our source claims he said to her. Classic deflection. Classic gaslighting, making it her problem, her fault. Frustrated, Janelle did exactly what our investigative team did. She decided to go directly to the Arizona MVD to apply for a lost title. She went online, filled out the forms, entered the VIN, and paid the fee. And then she waited. A few days later, she received an official letter in the mail. It was a rejection of her request. The reason stated was simple. She was not the registered owner of the vehicle. The letter informed her that the legal owner was a company, K&R Holdings, LLC. Imagine that moment. Imagine being Janelle Brown standing in her kitchen, holding that piece of official state paper. The confusion. The name K&R Holdings echoed in her mind. K, our Kody, Robyn. The slow, sickening dawning of the truth. The realization that for years she had been living a lie. The home she had defended, the life she had built was a mirage. Our source says she didn't scream, she didn't cry. Janelle, ever the pragmatist, went into a state of cold, quiet fury. She felt like a fool, she felt betrayed, she felt every dollar she had ever paid towards that RV, every dollar for insurance, for propane, for repairs, being sucked out of her own pocket and deposited directly into theirs. Her next step, we are told, was a phone call, not to Robyn, but directly to Kody. And this was not a conversation for the TLC cameras. This was a raw, unfiltered confrontation. "I know," is reportedly how she opened the call. Kody, playing dumb, asked what she was talking about. "I know you and Robyn own the RV, Kody. I have the letter from the state. K&R Holdings. How could you do this to me?" Our source claims Kody's reaction was not one of remorse, but of annoyance and justification. He allegedly fell back on the same tired excuses. "It's just a business arrangement, Janelle. It was for tax purposes. You're making a big deal out of nothing. It's still family property." But Janelle, for the first time, was not backing down. The wool had been pulled from her eyes. "Family property, Kody? Or your and Robyn's property? If it was family property, why isn't my name on it? Why isn't it in the Dabsart company name? Why was it set up in a secret company that only you and she control?" The conversation, our source says, escalated from there. Kody accused her of being dramatic, of trying to rewrite history, of being bitter because he had found happiness with Robyn. He tried to manipulate her to make her feel crazy for questioning him. But the dam had broken. The years of quiet frustration, of being marginalized, of watching her financial security erode in favor of Robyn's, all came pouring out. She ended the call, we are told, with a quiet, firm statement that has changed everything. "This isn't over. You will make this right. I'm getting a lawyer." And that is where we are now. The deception has been exposed. The confrontation has happened. And Janelle Brown is, for the first time, preparing to fight Kody and Robyn, not in a family therapy session, but in a court of law. This is the reckoning. So what does that fight look like? We spoke again with our legal and financial experts to understand the path forward for Janelle. And the good news is, while the on-paper situation looks bleak, she has a very powerful legal case. The key to her entire fight rests on a legal concept known as a constructive trust. Now, what is a constructive trust? It's a tool that courts use to prevent what's called unjust enrichment. Unjust enrichment is exactly what it sounds like. One person unfairly benefiting at another person's expense. The law recognizes that sometimes the name on a piece of paper doesn't tell the whole story. A constructive trust is an equitable remedy. It means a judge can look at the situation and say, hold on, yes, the title says K&R Holdings is the owner, but Janelle Brown has been acting like the owner. She made the payments, she paid for the insurance, she paid for the upkeep. Everyone, including Kody, referred to it as her RV. To allow Kody and Robyn to keep the full value of this asset would be a profound injustice. Essentially, a judge can impose a constructive trust on the RV, declaring that although Kody and Robyn are the legal owners on paper, they are only holding that title in trust for the true beneficial owner, Janelle. The court can then order them to sign the title over to her. To win a case like this, Janelle will need to provide evidence, and thankfully, she has a mountain of it. She has bank statements showing the monthly payments for the RV loan. She has receipts for insurance payments in her name. She has maintenance records. And in a beautiful twist of irony, she has hours and hours of publicly broadcasted video evidence from the Sister Wives show itself, where Kody repeatedly refers to the RV as Janelle's RV. He is, in effect, his own worst witness. His on-camera deception could be the very thing that sinks him in court. Our legal expert told us Janelle has two primary legal paths she can pursue. Path A is to sue for ownership. She can file a lawsuit demanding that the court impose a constructive trust and declare her the rightful owner of the fifth wheel, forcing Kody and Robyn to transfer the title to her name. This is the path of justice, of reclaiming what is rightfully hers. Path B is to sue for reimbursement. She could, alternatively, sue K&R Holdings, LLC, as well as Kody and Robyn personally for the full amount of money she has put into the RV. This would include every single loan payment, every insurance premium, every dollar spent on repairs and upgrades, plus interest. This would be a purely financial move, designed to make her financially whole and recover the tens of thousands of dollars that were siphoned from her. Which path will she choose? Our sources say she is currently consulting with the legal counsel in Arizona to determine the best strategy, but one thing is clear: the Janelle Brown, who would have quietly accepted this injustice, is gone. The woman who tried to keep the peace for the sake of a failing family has been replaced by a woman who is ready to fight for her financial life. The discovery of the RV title was not a setback, it was an awakening. It was the final, undeniable proof she needed that she was not in a family. She was in a business deal where she was the only one not reading the fine print. And now she's ready to rewrite the contract. A lawsuit. The line has been drawn in the sand, not with a stick in the mud of Coyote Pass, but with the threat of legal filings and subpoenas. Janelle's discovery and her subsequent confrontation with Kody is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the end for the Brown family as we know it. This isn't just about one woman fighting for one asset. This is a bombshell that will send shockwaves through the entire family structure, exposing the foundational rot that has been festering for years. We are now entering the final, most devastating phase of this story: the fallout. The betrayal Janelle has uncovered is not a private matter between three people. It involves a family of 18 children, some of whom are still minors, and all of whom have been raised on the promise of a shared legacy. That legacy was meant to be Coyote Pass. Kody has pontificated endlessly on camera about the land being for his children, his grandchildren. It was to be the Brown family homestead, a place where their roots would run deep for generations. But the K&R Holdings revelation poisons that well entirely. It forces us to ask a terrifying question. If Kody and Robyn were willing to structure the ownership of an $80,000 RV this way, what have they done with the family's most valuable asset, the land itself? We are launching a full-scale investigation into the deeds and titles for every single parcel on Coyote Pass, and we will bring you the results of that in a future exclusive report. But based on the pattern of behavior we have now proven with the RV, we must consider the horrifying possibility that the land ownership is not what it seems. For years, we watched them fight over who would get which plot of land. Janelle wanted the section with the trees. Christine famously wanted out. Mary was left with a parcel nobody wanted, deep in the woods. Kody controlled the entire process, moving the lines on the map to suit his whims. But what if that was all just theater? What if the individual plots are not, in fact, deeded to the individual wives? What if the most valuable parcels, or perhaps the entire property, are held under another secretive LLC, just like the RV? What if, on paper, Janelle, Mary, and even Christine, who has already left, have zero legal claim to the land they helped purchase with money from the family pot? This RV situation could be the key that unlocks a much larger, multi-million-dollar real estate deception. It suggests that Kody and Robyn's strategy has been to use shared family funds to acquire assets and then legally secure those assets for themselves alone. The implications are staggering. This would mean that the children of Janelle, Christine, and Mary have no guaranteed inheritance. The legacy that Kody promised them could be a complete fiction, a story he told them while legally ensuring that the lion's share of the family's wealth flows only to Robyn's children. This transforms Kody's on-screen rage at his and Janelle's sons, Garrison and Gabriel, from a simple conflict over COVID rules into something far more sinister. He wasn't just fighting with his sons over their social lives, he was potentially disenfranchising them from their own inheritance while they lived in a home their mother was paying for but didn't own. It is a level of betrayal that is almost Shakespearean in its scope. The fallout with the children will be immense. How can they ever look at their father the same way again, knowing that he may have been actively working to undermine their mother's financial security and, by extension, their own? The bonds of trust that hold a family together are not just emotional, they are built on the promise that a parent will protect their child's future. The K&R Holdings documents suggest that Kody and Robyn have been protecting only their own future and the future of their children. The rest of the family was just collateral damage in their empire building. Beyond the family, there is another court where this case will be tried, the court of public opinion. For years, Kody and Robyn have attempted to control the narrative. They have used their on-camera interviews and their limited social media presence to paint themselves as the victims. Christine was bitter. Janelle was too independent. Mary was difficult. They were the ones holding the family together, the ones suffering for the dream. This documentary evidence annihilates that narrative. It is the final nail in the coffin of their public image. You cannot claim to be the victim while holding the secret title to the other person's home. You cannot cry about a broken family while you are the one who is operating a secret company that financially benefits from that family's destruction. The backlash will be and should be severe. TLC, the network that has broadcast this family's life for over a decade, will have a major crisis on its hands. How can they continue to present this as a show about a quirky but loving plural family when they are now faced with documented evidence of alleged financial abuse? To ignore it would be journalistic malpractice. To feature it would be to televise a family's complete and utter self-destruction, in a way that goes far beyond simple marital disputes. We can predict the spin that Kody and Robyn will attempt. They will likely claim it was a misunderstanding. They might even try to argue they were protecting Janelle. Perhaps they'll say that because Janelle had no legal marital ties to Kody, putting the asset in an LLC was a way to keep it within the family. This argument falls apart under the slightest scrutiny. If the goal was to protect Janelle, her name would have been on the LLC. If the goal was to keep it in the family, it would have been purchased under the Dabsark Entertainment Company, which included all 4 wives. There is no justifiable explanation for this. It is a blatant act of asset control, and the public will see it for what it is. The millions of viewers who have invested their time and emotion into this family's story, particularly those who have admired Janelle for her strength and resilience, will be outraged on her behalf. Kody and Robyn have fundamentally misunderstood their audience. They thought they could manipulate the story, but they forgot that in the digital age, the paper trail is forever. And we, along with countless others, have the receipts. So where does it all go from here? As we see it, there are 2 possible roads forward, and both lead to the definitive end of the Brown family as a plural unit. The first road is the path of a quiet settlement. Faced with an unwinnable lawsuit and complete public disgrace, Kody and Robyn's lawyers will likely advise them to cut their losses. In this scenario, they will agree to sign the title of the RV over to Janelle immediately. They may even offer her a significant financial settlement to compensate her for the emotional distress and the years of financial risk she was unknowingly subjected to. In exchange, Janelle would have to sign a rock-solid non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, preventing her from ever speaking publicly about the details of this arrangement. It would be a quiet, clean end to the legal battle. Janelle would get her assets, she would get her money back, and she would be free, but we, the public, might never hear the full story from her lips. The second road is far more chaotic and, frankly, far more in character for Kody Brown. This is the path of war, driven by his monumental ego and his narcissistic belief that he is never in the wrong. Kody could refuse to settle. He could decide to fight Janelle in court. He would likely drag Robyn along with him, convincing her that they are the righteous ones, that they are being persecuted. This would be a catastrophic mistake for them. A public court battle would mean discovery. It would mean lawyers would have the power of subpoena. They could demand access to all of K&R Holdings' financial records. They could demand bank statements, asset lists, records of every transaction. They could depose Kody, Robyn, Janelle, and even the other wives and adult children under oath. Every secret, every hidden asset, every preferential payment would be dragged out into the harsh light of a courtroom. It would be the complete financial autopsy of the Brown family, and it would prove, once and for all, exactly how the money flowed. For us, the viewers, it would be the most revealing and explosive drama imaginable. For the family, it would be a trauma from which they would never recover. And for the Sister Wives show, it would likely be the death knell. A network cannot ethically film a reality show in which the main cast members are engaged in active, bitter litigation against each other over such serious allegations. Regardless of which path is chosen, the outcome is the same. The illusion is shattered. The lie is exposed. Janelle Brown, the woman who so often played the role of the quiet, logical supporter, the financial bedrock of the family, has been pushed too far. In their greed, Kody and Robyn made a fatal error. They underestimated her. They thought she would just keep paying, keep trusting, keep playing her part. They never imagined she would be the one to find the key, unlock the cage, and burn the whole fraudulent enterprise to the ground. This story began with a mystery: where is the title? But it ends with a revelation. The story was never about a piece of paper. It was about a woman's worth. For years, Janelle Brown's worth was tied to what she could provide the family, to the income she could generate, to the budget she could balance. She was a human asset, and like the RV, she was taken for granted. But the search for that title led her to a much more profound discovery: the truth of her own value. The moment she saw that legal document, she was freed. Freed from the illusion of a family that didn't value her, freed from the financial chains that were disguised as love and loyalty. The win for Janelle is not just getting the RV. The win is the shocking, painful, but ultimately liberating discovery of the truth. It gives her the power, the righteous anger, and the legal standing to reclaim not just her property, but her life. The RV that was once her cage is now the very vehicle of her liberation. She will either get the title in her hand or a check for every dime she was deceived out of. Either way, she will drive away from Coyote Pass, not with a symbol of Kody's control, but with the spoils of her own victory. She is no longer just a sister wife. She is a survivor, and her reckoning is just beginning. Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. The story is far from over, and we are committed to following every twist and turn. Our investigation into the Coyote Pass land deeds is already underway, and you will not want to miss what we uncover. To make sure you are the first to know, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to COCO Gossip, and most importantly, ring that notification bell. The truth is coming, and you deserve to see it.